Hello, wherever you may be watching us. This is the Spotlight interview on Gambiana, and then I am Adama Makasuba, the host. And today I have a special guest in this show, who is Neneh Cheyasine. Welcome to this special interview.
Thanks for having me. I'm glad to be here.
So we begin this interview with tell us or tell our viewers who is Neneh Cheyasine.
Neneh Cheyasine Kebe is married to Basiru Kebe. I have 3 children. I am the oldest child of Pap Cheyasine Usman Seka, who died about 13 years ago. I'm a philanthropist. I am a Gambian. I am a wife. I'm a mother. I'm an activist because I feel like I need to be the voice of the unheard. I consider myself a good friend, a reliable person, an efficient person, a business owner, a workaholic, and I love Gambia.
So we've seen that recently you entered into politics. Can you tell us what motivated you to enter into politics, given the fact that you are philanthropist and you do other kind of business, and then you are into business and then activism?
I got into politics really out of frustration. I get asked this question a lot, but I was really, really frustrated with the status quo and the way things were going. Through my philanthropic work, it exposed me a lot to a lot of the issues we have in Gambia, especially things that are happening outside of my comfort zone. Because I could have been here, lived here for 5 years, and not really know how the other side of Gambians are living. But once I got into the community and started working with women, youth, and people alike, it kind of opened my eyes and showed me that we had a lot of social and economic issues that are impacting everyday Gambians.
So when you say we have a lot of social and issues that are impacting Gambians, can you just break this thing down for our viewers?
Oh, you like me to highlight a few of the...
Yes.
Okay. God, there I have a lot, but we'll just do a few since we don't have all the time in the world. One of my biggest issues, I have a nursing license. I'm a nurse, so I've been exposed to the healthcare field, and my business is in healthcare in the United States. I noticed that at least 30% of the babies that are born in Gambia end up in the intensive care unit. And most of those babies don't come out of intensive care because they don't have the medical support, and we don't have the necessary medications, the proper amount of incubators. The nurses and the doctors don't have enough training. So I noticed that a lot of the babies die at the hospitals. And these are, in the 21st century, you don't have a baby at 30 weeks or 25 weeks and they die. You have nurses and doctors that have the right training, the right medications, that are able to have these babies thrive. And just in my immediate circle, I know at least 5 women who've had their babies early and they've lost their babies. So that's how my frustration started. That's how, and I started paying more attention. I realized that the women in Gambia are overworked, and they work for pennies on the dollar, and they don't have enough support. I was fortunate enough when I went through a divorce. I lived in the United States. I was in my early 30s. I had 3 children. I could not afford to pay my mortgage by myself and support my children and go back to school. But there are infrastructures that the government has in place that supports women and supports single parents so that they're able to take care of their children. So I felt like the money is here in Gambia. We can afford to do we can afford to create those same programs. But because of mismanagement, the women don't get the support that they need. I felt like if I didn't have the government support for them to help provide childcare for my children, I would not have been able to go back to school to get a nursing license to improve my standard of living. I would not have been able to change my life and create a better life for myself and my children. So I know that the reason why women don't thrive here is because the social and economic support is not here. And if we have a government that is spending $1 billion just through mismanagement, based on the report from the Auditor General, it shows the money is here and it's not been put back into the Gambian people. So that's one of the reasons why I decided to be the voice of the unheard.
Yeah, some time ago, you made mention that, at least 300 babies out of every 1,000.
Yes, 300 out of every 1,000 babies die.
Yes.
But
so
I'm
the
talking...
government came out, they countered this thing, especially the Ministry of
Health.
And then the Minister of Information.
So they came out and countered it, but
Yeah,
there's
so-
also another report that came out and supported what I said.
Yeah. So do you still stand by these figures?
I stand by 100%. And the reason Gambians don't understand what I'm saying is they are thinking about babies that go to full gestation. And gestation means babies that go up to 40 weeks, because it takes 40 weeks for a typical pregnancy. I am not talking about those babies. I'm talking about babies that are born early. 30% of the babies that are born early die because we don't have proper medication, proper training, and we don't have incubators to support the lifespan of those babies. It's a fact.
So what is your response to their counter claim that you made, you gave wrong figures to Gambians about this thing?
He gave wrong figures too. He said, I think it was 29 babies that die out of 1,000. But it was proven that it's higher than that. I think it's 60. I don't remember the exact number, but his number was wrong too. But again, I am not talking about live births. I'm not talking about babies that go to full-term delivery. I'm talking about babies that are born early. Gambia does not have the infrastructure to support babies that are born before gestation. I stand by that. Okay, if he is saying it is wrong, I want the government to take us Gambians to all the government hospitals they have here. Take us to the intensive care unit for infants and show us what the support is that they have. There are no incubators there. I have been there where babies take turns. Just imagine you have a baby born at 30 weeks. Their lungs are not fully developed. They need an incubator to support their breathing until they reach gestation. You have less than 10 incubators in an entire hospital of 40 patients. They take turns in the incubator. Does that make sense? They're doing that while we have mismanaged $1 billion. Not dollars. Do you know how much 1 billion is? 1 billion is 1 million 1,000 times. 1 million 1,000 times make 1 billion. And according to the Auditor General's report for 2023, 2024, I think it was 2025, I don't remember off the top of my head. The present government had mismanaged over 1-point-something billion of our money and have no explanation of what happened to those funds. And instead of him coming back to the Gambian people to give us an explanation that made sense, what did he do? He fired the Attorney General and hired somebody else. And his report that is out is just as bad. The Minister of Finance's report that came out for 2025 shows that our president, Barrow, just at his office last year spent over $1 billion. He has a wife that travels. One ticket is $1 million. That's $16,000, $17,000 for one trip. And that's just one trip that we know of. She spends $150,000 a day a day.
But again, the government, they dismiss this claim that, okay.
They can dismiss the claims, but I'm going by the facts. When you Googled it, it shows you, it's online. This is not information I'm making up. You can go online and look it up. It shows that Mrs. Barrow spent almost $1 million on a ticket, for just one ticket to travel. And that does not include her spending, her personal spending expenses. It does not include her security, and it doesn't include her stay. Just the ticket was close to $1 million. Why should Gambians accept that when your bathrooms for your children have no running water? They have buckets in the toilets. When it's 90 degrees outside, you don't even have fans in the classroom. Why should we accept that? I am not saying that the president doesn't deserve it. I'm not saying that. What I am saying is you cannot have this level of poverty and then you spend it the way you spend. It's irresponsible. If you care about us as a nation, you will act as such, and he hasn't acted as such. The average Gambian today is poorer today than they were 10 years ago. We have a bag of rice now, the Jame rice. I was in the market in Banjul yesterday. It's $2,250 for a bag of rice. If an average Gambian's income is $5,000, if you've already bought a bag of rice at $2,250, bag of Subway at $900, you've already bought the Doolin at, it was, I think, $2,200. I went to the market yesterday. By the time I just bought those 3 items, I had spent $5,600. If my average salary is $5,000, how do I live the rest of the month? What happens to medical bills? What happens to family emergencies? What happens to my cash power? If I'm to what happens to the rent that I'm paying? And the government has not come up with any no infrastructure has been put in place. There is no plan that says, if I come back 5 years from now, this and this and this is what is going to improve for Gambians. The average Gambian's lifestyle has not improved in 10 years. Why should we give President Barrow another 5 years? Instead of him talking about the issues that affect us as people, he's talking about the T-shirts that are coming for the election. He's talking about the money that he's going to loan to the women groups. He's talking about the cars that were bought. He's talking about the motorbikes. How does that affect the average Gambian's lifestyle? What changes? So us as a people, we need to start really thinking, why are we willing to sell another 5 years of our future just for a motorcycle or just for that $5,000 or $10,000 that you're going to get because you voted for him? So you're going to give $5,000, you're going to take $5,000, you give Barrow your vote, or you're going to do that for a bag of rice and then you give up another 5 years of your life? Does that make sense? So he's giving you back based on your taxes and the resources of the Gambian people. It's not like he's coming out of his pocket. So why, if you go into the booth to vote, vote for your future and your family's future. There is no end in sight. Things will only continue to get worse. Prices will always continue to increase because there are no infrastructures in place for the average Gambian.
So let me take you back to the health sector. Based on your background in health and somebody who want to be in government under your party, that is the golden era, what do you think is the solution when you guys come to power that we're going to address these problems facing this country right now?
We are no longer part of the golden era party. The golden era party no longer exists. We did not get our registration. We are now part of the PPP party. We became members of PPP and we were elected by the party to be president and vice president. So GEP no longer exists. So I am now part of a registered party, People's
now,
Progressive Party.
Are you still going to be the vice president of PPP?
Yes, I am running under the banner of PPP as the vice president. I was nominated
as president.
Sheikh Saho.
Okay. So what solution do you guys have for this country in terms of the problems that we have mentioned here?
There are lots of issues. In terms of, for me, my focus has been women and children, because I feel like they're the ones that have been severely impacted. I think we need to create proper training centers for women. I think, especially when it comes to things like agriculture, there is AI agriculture, there's agro-agriculture. There are things that we can do to take us to the 21st century. And I think the government should heavily invest into agriculture, give the women the proper training that they need so that they could grow their crops, in turn to be able to not only sell to us that live here and reduce the cost, but also be able to use those resources to take care of themselves and their families. One of my biggest frustration is they have the location where they can grow their crops, but they have no water. So if you claim that you are supporting women, how do you support women without giving them boreholes? I was in Farato about a year ago. I went to visit, and through my visit, I realized that the women in Farato will have to sleep there overnight to gather water. They were only able to grow their crops during raining season, and because they're there with men, these women were sleeping there with their babies so that they will be able to wake up at 4 a.m. or 2 to 3 a.m. in the morning, water their crops, harvest, and go to the market. And these women were earning less than $20 a week. If you care about women, like I said, you create infrastructures, you create deep freezers where they could pay minimal cost, leave their crops there, and be able to sell them in the morning. If you care about women, you provide the fertilizers that they need, you provide the proper training, and you provide the proper support. These women have zero support. Zero support. So how do you change the level of poverty? Government has to take ownership. Government has to have the resources to support them for them to be productive. Right now, the poorest women are farmers. So if we make 58% of the votes, women make up 58%, we should use our voting power to be able to dictate how the government supports us. Every time the school year closes, one of my biggest problems that I have with the CAFOs, they lose all their resources because the monies that they have is what they use to pay school fees, is what they use to buy books, supplies, and uniforms. Every year when they do that, you have to go back and re-support them financially so that they can start their businesses over. So it's been very, very frustrating for women. They don't have the necessary support. So now that the election is coming, he's made an announcement that he's giving $50 million in loans to these women. But you have to remember, President Barrow has 300,000 women supporters that are registered on that MPP. Those women are paying an average of $250 for their registration. So if you do the math, those 300,000 women at $250, it's over $75 million, I think. I don't have my calculator with me now. That $50 million he's claiming to loan women is the money that they had deposited to be members of MPP. But most people don't think it through. They don't understand. They hear 50 million. They're like, oh my God, 50 million, 50 million. Yes, it's a lot of money for the average Gambian woman who needs support to start a business. But you got to understand that he's using your own oil to fry you. It's the donations that you guys have made collectively that he has now in turn taken to give you to start a business. And now he's asking you to pay it back in the form of a loan. And when investigated, he could not explain where that 50 million originated from. If it were genuine funds from our government coffers, show us the paper trail. Show us where the money came from. So this is why I say there's a lot of mismanagement. Things don't make sense. The lines are too blurred. And at the end of the day, the average Gambian woman or child is affected.
So what about the health sector? Somebody who has a background in health, how are you going to address the problem facing the health sector?
First of all, we need better hospitals. We need continuous training for the doctors and the nurses. One thing I've noticed living here the past 5 years, once you graduate school and you've done your internship and you've worked, they don't go back and do continuous training. Technology is training every day. Medical advances are happening every single day. It has to be mandatory for nurses and doctors to get continuous training, and that has to be a government responsibility. So one of the areas I feel like we have failed in the health sector is they don't have adequate training. So if you don't have adequate training, when a patient comes in, how are you able to give proper care? The other frustrating part is I've been called several times, several occasions, when someone was diagnosed and they have a medication that they need. The medication list is not at the hospital. You're forced to buy it from an outside pharmacy or an outside source. No one can afford medication that is $2,000-$3,000 when your income is $5,000. So most of the time, even though these men, women, and children have been diagnosed, they have to decide whether they're going to eat or whether they can afford their medication. And a lot of the calls you will get is, that happens constantly. So we need to make medications affordable. The government needs to be able to support that part of the infrastructure to make sure when you are sick, you're able to have your meds. And there are rumors, when I go in, of people that actually work in the hospital already, that control these medications, that go and open their own pharmacies and sell it. These same medications that are supposed to be donations for hospitals. And there's no accountability. So there are lots of issues where there has to be a complete overhaul and a complete restructuring of everything. Because the resources are here. Again, they're just being mismanaged. Same thing with the schools. An average teacher makes $5,000 a month. The teachers focus more on the lessons after school because that's where they get money from than the actual teaching in the classroom. Again, there has to be infrastructure that provides continuous training for teachers. Technology is changing every day. Why aren't we providing those resources for the teachers? Teachers should be one of the highest paid. The teachers should not feel like they need to be teaching after school to teach lesson classes so that they'll be able to provide for their families. And they do that because they cannot live off of the $5,000 a month. So I think those are just basic 1, 2, 3 things that need to happen.
So now election is coming.
In December 5th.
Yeah. So are you guys in any position to form alliance with other opposition parties?
We're in talks right now. We have 13 movement and independent parties that we've been in discussions with. I am hopeful and strongly believe that at the end of the day, we'll all put Gambia first and we will pick the most electable candidate. And we will have no choice but to support that person, because if we all don't come together, Barrow comes back again another 5 years. So yes, I am very hopeful, and we are in talks right now. I think it will take a lot of conversation. You know, this is a bunch of men and their egos. So we, the women, will support, and there are men who are already in there that want it to happen, and they're going to put Gambia first, and we will come together. We will come together. I believe that. It might be last minute because of all these egos that are flying around, but at the end of the day, they'll put their egos aside. Dina am sorry.
So there was a time also you made a video on social media regarding the cost of your outfit, and that many people came on social media. They start attacking you. You know,
they're always attacking
me. What was your
okay.
reaction to those attacks?
First of all, I want to say it's something I had seen on other platforms, and I thought it would be fun for me to do one. At no point was I trying to insult anyone or demean anyone, and that was not the intent of the video. I couldn't understand where the negative connotation or the negative vibe or the negative message came from. That never made sense to me. Nit kulige halisam. Dafka wara spend him kubuge. I didn't understand why it was such a big deal. Because this is how I live. This is my daily life. If I feel like I need to share it, it is my right to share it. And I thought it was blown out of proportion. I didn't see the big deal.
Okay.
I didn't, because it is not my responsibility to be responsible for you. That is not my responsibility. And I don't think it's fair for you to project your needs on me. And besides that, I am already doing what I'm supposed to do. I'm already giving back. I'm already in the community. I'm already trying to make a positive impact. I'm already in the community and trying to make a difference. I don't think it is my responsibility. I think us as Gambians have a lot of misplaced priorities. I think we should be going back to our president and asking for an explanation of why he spends $1 billion a year. I think we should go back to the president and ask why his wife number one spends $150,000 every day. They are the ones that are using government's funds. So they need to give us an explanation. But for me as a private citizen, I think it's my right to spend my money how I see fit. So that's a form of online bullying that I don't even respond to. I'm not if you feel like me as a complete stranger, you need to come to me and dictate to me how I should live my life, then you should go back and look into your life and see.
That's right, yeah. So, what other message do you have for Gambians, especially at this crucial moment? And then living costs on the rise. You know, globally things are getting hard.
Globally things are getting harder, I agree. But the government also has to manage that process. I don't understand is why we don't have reserves. Why is it every time something happens in Europe or outside of Gambia, it affects us immediately? We should have buffer systems in place. So if there's a financial crisis or there's an economic crisis or there is a crisis with petrol or oil refineries, anything like that, Gambia should already have its own reserves where it can absorb the shock until things level off. That's one. Two, this is the year of the voter. If you're unhappy with your future or your child's future, you should register to vote. If you have a family member that went the back way and died, or you have a friend, or you know someone, or you've heard of stories, you should register to vote. There is no reason why our children should finish university and are still at the corner drinking attire all day. Register to vote. If you feel like you cannot afford your own land and you have to live in a family compound and in your 30s and you're married and you still, the same room you grew up in with your brothers and sisters is the same room you're in now with your children because you cannot afford to live outside of your family compound, you should register to vote. If you have a family member that has died in the hospital because of mismanaged care or because you didn't have the resources, you should register to vote. If you're living off a road that is still flooded after the roads have been fixed, you should register to vote. If your daughter has to wake up at 4 a.m. in the morning to leave the combos, to go to Gambia High or to go to schools in Banjul, you should register to vote. If you are living in Gambia and you go 12 hours, 16 hours a day without light, you should register to vote. If you are living in Gambia and you have to wake up at 4 a.m. in the morning to make sure you fill out your drums because you go 2 to 3 days without water, you should register to vote. You should register to vote because you as a Gambian citizen deserves better. And I feel like the everyday hardships of your life and the fact that your children have no future and they feel like they need to leave Gambia for them to be able to provide for themselves and live a life of dignity, then go out and register to vote. Ken Warutlana.
So there was a time doctor, attacked you.
Oh, Dr. Cisse.
Yes. So what is your take on his statement about you when you made that remark that, okay, 300 out of 1,000 babies died?
Dr. Cisse has his information wrong. And I say that because, again, I am not talking about babies that were delivered at 40 weeks, that were delivered at full gestation. I'm talking about premature babies. I'm talking about babies that did not go up to 40 weeks. I'm talking about babies that were born 6, 7, 8 months. I'm talking about babies that developed lung disease. I'm talking about babies that because they did not reach full gestation, they need support medically until they're stable enough to come home. Those are the babies I'm talking about. Again, you have an average of 40 babies in a hospital and an intensive care unit in Gambia. There are 10 incubators to support 20, 30, 40 babies. What happens to the other babies when they're waiting to be in the incubator? They die. Because we don't have proper training for the doctors, because the nurses don't have proper training, because we don't have the most current medications to support those babies. I stand by my statement. I am not changing my statement. Again, I am not talking about full gestation babies. I'm talking about premature babies.
Thank you for granting us this interview. And then this is the Spotlight interview on Gambiana, and then I've been your host, Adama Makasuba. Till next time, thank you.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.